All right. So I'm switching to DWM, sort of. I'm switching to a window manager that I've sort of created or sort of copied from DWM and stripped out all the parts that I don't like or don't need and just called it Spec. And it's available on my GitHub at github.com/ccwaddy. Oh, and let me enable my screen keys down at the bottom so that you can see what I'm typing. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You just have, Control-Shift-H goes to your first desk, J the second, K the third, and L the fourth. You can add more desks if you want and add key bindings to go to those desks immediately. You could also pretty easily modify the code to just go to the next desk instead of having each key specifically tied to one desk. And then if you're on a particular desk like I am here, I have the ability to switch back and forth between applications that are on this same desk by hitting Control-Shift-semicolon. So, and if you look here in... Well, it's not listed under my popular repositories. Yeah, this is Spec. It's incredibly, the source code is just spec.c and util.c. And then the appropriate header files are util.h and config.h. And you really don't need to modify anything to get it built and working. So, I'll show you sort of the default keyboard shortcuts that I have set up right here. You can go to a desk and you can move focused windows to that desk. You can shift your focus to the next window on the current desk or the previous window on the current desk. So what I'll do is I'll create a new terminal here, and I will send that terminal to the first desk, and then I'll break it out of full screen mode. You can drag it around, and then you can see that the focus changes by pressing some of those shortcuts. And you've got maximize and minimize, right? So I don't know. Oh, that did actually maximize it, right? So you can maximize the clock, make it take up the whole screen if you want to. And you can create shortcuts to start up various keys, and then I have Alt-Tab set to just go to the last desk. And then close the focused window is Control-Shift-W, and then quit out of the whole thing is Control-Shift-Q. And this background is just this background.png, and I've included the GIMP save file for that so that you can modify it to make it include whatever you want on the background. And I guess I should show you what my .x session is, right? So I just have it set to, generally speaking, it won't use the bell. It is using it right now. And then I have my custom keyboard configuration. The rate for repeat on the keyboard gets set. This starts that little clock window. And that's a custom program that's in my dots repo on under my GitHub. Right here, there's instructions on how to make it in there. And then I start ST. I also switch to ST, the simple terminal emulator, instead of Xterm. And then I've got Emacs going as well. And then, whoops, this is a just a little program to, if I'm not using the computer, to put it to sleep. And then this sets the background to that background, which I've moved into bin, just so that it's, working. And then I exec spec, right? And then the make file is also pretty simple. It includes this config.make, and then the sources are just those two things. It prints off options. Clean just removes your objects files. Install just installs it to the bin directory in your home directory. And uninstall just removes it. And if we go to config.make, even for OpenBSD, you don't have to do anything different than you do with Linux, because I removed the free type dependencies that there are in DWM. So, yeah, there's just these includes and these standard libraries. And if you're on OpenBSD and you want pledging, you just have to, this is normally commented, but if you uncomment it, then you'll get it pledged on OpenBSD. And that's it for the the make configuration. The config.h, mine is only 80 lines long. You've got the border pixel, the snap pixel. So to give you an idea of the snap pixel, that's if I click on it with, whatever modifiers I want, I can move the window around, and it snaps to various corners if you get close enough. And that's just specifying how close you want it to be. This is the border color for unfocused windows and the border color for the focused window. This is how much space I have reserved down here at the bottom for my little screen keys program. But you can change this. Total number of tags, which tag do you want to start on? This starts at 1, too. So if you want 4 tags, put down 4. If you want to start on the first tag, put down 1 here. And then this is where you will tab to if you hit Alt-Tab out of the gate. This is me just specifying which desk I want things to start up on. And if you run xprop and click on the window, this will tell you what these things are. And the last one of these wins is maybe the important thing to note here. So, and then these are just the commands that I've set up to run. And you can run any command by using spawn and then having the command be the argument, right? And that should just be the name of the command followed by any arguments you want, ended with a null, right? And then if you hold down Control-Shift on a non-full screen window and single click, you can move it around. And right click, you can make it bigger or smaller. So, yeah. That's pretty much it for the config.h. The view command takes you to that particular view. If you pass it 0, it'll take you to the last one. Tag sends the window to that desk. Quit quits, minimize will minimize, maximize will maximize. As long as you're not in full screen mode and it's not a window that's specified to only be one size, which is sort of an underlying protocol thing. This will kill whatever client you have. This switches the focus for windows that are on your current desk. And that's pretty much it. The actual structure of the program is pretty simple. If we go to, and that's kind of the point of this, is that if you want to learn how a window manager works, this is making it as easy as possible. So basically the first thing that we do is we have to check and make sure that there's not another window manager running. And then we get the default screen, we get the screen width and screen height, we get the root window, we create a structure called a monitor, which there's only one of, so I didn't really have to create that structure, but it was just left over from DWM and I didn't feel like deleting it entirely, even though I only wanted to support one monitor. And then these xintern atoms, this function, so an atom in X is basically a way to, it's a way to succinctly describe an arbitrary length string of bytes, right? So the developers of X were really worried about how much, like, if you're running X over a network, they were really worried about how much data you might be sending over the network. So they wanted to create these, like, 32-bit abbreviations for arbitrary length strings. So, you know, the X server can theoretically have 4 billion-ish different strings that are just referenced by, each of which is only referenced by 4 bytes. So essentially, we're just saying, like, hey, make sure that these references to these strings of bytes are available on the server because we're going to use them to communicate with clients to say that we are a window manager and that we support various functions like full screen and like take focus and delete window. Those are basically the main ones. Everything else is just kind of specification fluff, if you will. And these are just setting the border colors, or creating the border colors, really, so that we can use them later. And then this is just more specification fluff, really. They basically just say, like, hey, there's a window manager running, and this is its name is spec. And then this is the list of all of the, like, extended window manager functions that we support. We're putting that property on, and then we're currently don't have any clients that we're managing, so we're deleting that property. And then we want to, like, pass this, like, event mask. Basically, the way a window manager works is on the root window, it sets the substructure redirect mask, which basically means that anytime someone tries to get a root level or a top level window that's a child of a direct child of the root window, it's going to have to go through the window manager first to get permission to either be displayed or to change its size and all that stuff. And then we also want to know when properties change on substructures and various things like that. I've actually got some notes. These are all of the events that we actually handle in the function. And the substructure notify mask, we care, like, if they get reconfigured or if they get destroyed or if they get unmapped. And the configure notify we don't really even do much with. We just make sure that we refocus the default or whatever window we were previously focused on and arrange the screen appropriately. So yeah, and we, select the input for those things on the root window. And then whatever keys you have as window manager keys. Those are grabbed here. And then we just set the focus to the default one. Here's where you would pledge if you're running OpenBSD. Then we find all of the root or all of the child windows and we manage them. So if you go here, essentially every window that doesn't have the override redirect flag set, you're supposed to manage as a window manager. The reason why this window down here is essentially, I'm not even sure if this is a window down here. I'm not entirely sure how they're doing this screen keys program. But in any case, it's either got the, I think it's got the override redirect flag set because it's not, it doesn't show up on anything, really. So, but yeah, basically you just create a client structure and fill it in with the details of the window. And if it's not a transient window, which is something that's designed for to be temporary or very brief, then we're going to start it on whatever desk it's said to be started on according to the rules of our config.h file. And just make sure that it fits on the screen, set the border. Once we've configured it, we send a configure event, right? So this doesn't actually do any configuring, it just sends a configure notify event to whatever window we're looking at. This will make it full screen if it's supposed to be full screen. This will set whether or not it's supposed to have the focus ever. And we also grab buttons. So one thing that I did not mention is that this is click to focus, unlike DWM, which just the focus follows mask. So if I just click without holding down any modifiers, it'll work in here. And it will also register the click. So you can see that the pane is switching from where it was. The focus of which pane I'm in for TMUX switches as well. But you can still also use shortcuts. And that's another good point here, is that if I don't use the meta, it just cycles between the last two windows. If I do use the meta, then it'll bring up the clock as well. So, oops. Yeah. So, anyway, that's the grab buttons essentially enables click to focus. So you'll see that get called even when we're leaving a window because we want click to focus. And it's actually in DWM too, but it doesn't, this little bit right here is not, that never really comes into play because you always get an enter window event before you get a click in the window. So by the time you click in the window, it's already had gotten the focus, and that click, this is undone essentially, so that click doesn't actually focus in there or doesn't raise the window anymore. So yeah, anyway, just something, if you are curious, you can compare that. But yeah, then we raise the window, we attach it to the stack, which just puts it in the monitor's list of all its clients. And then we add it to the end of the client list. And then this is kind of just fluff. Some windows are dumb and they don't realize that they need it. But then we set the client state saying that, hey, you're no longer iconified because we're going to un-iconify any windows. We don't pay attention to iconify. Unfocus on the original, whatever was there. Set the focus to this one. Arrange it. Arrange the monitor, which basically just means show any windows that are supposed to be shown and hide any that aren't. And then map it. And then focus. So yeah, that is pretty much it for scan. And then run is just, we just read whatever next event we get, and then if so, handler is this array of functions right here, and if we get an event of that type, then we handle it with the associated function. So like a button press, we call it the button press function. A client message, which is basically any of the other clients wanting to say that, hey, we want to be full screen, or hey, we would like to be iconified, or hey, we would like to be whatever. It's ways for clients to request things from the window manager that they wouldn't otherwise be able to request. And I think actually, yeah, the only thing that we actually handle is if it's full screen. If they want to be full screen, then we do it for them. And configure request is basically a request to resize the window. And we do that for clients because that will get redirected. You can't just do it on your own. Configure notify, we just make sure that everything's kosher in the display. And a destroy notify, if it's one of our clients, then we unmanage it. If we get the focus in events, then we basically just set the focus, because sometimes clients break. Key presses, that's your keyboard shortcuts. So that's going to look in your keys array and run whatever function you have associated with whatever key they grabbed. Mapping notify is when the keyboard mapping changes. So they just re-grab the keys to make sure that the keyboard shortcuts are correct. The map request is basically if it's not one of our clients already and it wants to be one of our clients or something that we're managing, then we manage it. And property notify is essentially, sometimes it'll tell us whether the client will change its window manager hints, like the size hints. And if it does that, then we just set a flag that says that the old ones are no longer valid. And if it sets some non-size related hints, which the only one that we actually care about is if it's never supposed to be focused on, then we update that as well. And this will change if it's full screen or not. So that's the only thing that happens. Sometimes clients will change the values of their properties, and that's why we care about that. Care about unmap notify. If a client unmaps themselves, then we might want to unmanage it or set the client state to withdrawn state. But yeah, that's pretty much it in the manage function that we have for clients. We care about when properties change and when focus changes on those particular windows. We already get, during setup, we already get when those, by setting X select input and having this substructure notify mask and substructure redirect mask, we get a bunch of other things as well. So substructure notify and structure notify mask are basically the same. We only care about configure notify, destroy notify, and unmap notify from both. So yeah, we care about substructure notify mask for our children because we want to know if they are unmapped or destroyed, basically. and then we want to know if they want to get mapped or change their size. But that's pretty much how a window manager works. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't like it. Leave a comment down below in either case, letting me know why. Also, let me know if you got any questions, criticisms, or concerns. And as always, if you want to get notified when I make new videos, hit subscribe. Thanks. Peace.